it up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe when we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. like a badge. We guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down. We just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome, Strictly Speaking Unfiltered on a Friday. It is the 23rd morning of the first month in the year of our Lord, 2025, or excuse me, 6. That's the first time I've done that in January. Usually I mess that up writing out a check, right? If people still write checks, what am I hearing? All right, I'm hearing noise that I don't want to hear right now. I think there's a video playing. Yeah, there is. That's all right. We got it. I think that's a check move, right? I remember as a kid used to do that on school papers. And, you had to put your name and the date in the upper right-hand corner of every paper. Do kids even use paper anymore? That's a legit question. I don't know the answer to it in school. Do they actually use paper anymore? Is everything on a laptop? Everything done digitally? Because it kind of feels like it is. I know they don't write cursive anymore. I was talking to somebody about that the other day. It's a really, really frustrating thing. How the hell do you get a legally verifiable signature if you can't learn how to write cursive? Anyway, I'm chasing squirrels here. But good morning. Thank you for coming. A lot to do today. A couple of great guests going to be joining us. Pastor Chris Long is going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour. He is very, very fired up, as is all of the OCA. That's the Ohio Christian Alliance, about the fact that charges have been filed against only 3 so far, of the protesters who stormed a church in St. Paul. We talked about this in some depth yesterday with Dr. Piper. But he's very, very, happy about that, but it's time to get them all. And what's infuriating is the fact that Don Lemon, who is the most high profile of all of them, who went into that church and disrupted that service, is not being charged. And according to multiple reports, Pam Bondi is said to be enraged by that. The reason there's no charge is because a left-wing judge is stopping that charge from being filed against Don Lemon. Somehow, some way, they're going to decide that his right to the freedom of the press trumps the right of the churchgoers to freedom to practice their religion. This is what happens. And by the way, that's going to tee up my larger point this morning that I want to make, especially here in the monologue. We got Pastor Chris Long. The other one is going to be here in about 25 minutes or so. We're going to talk to Patrick Wood. Patrick Wood is the founder of CFFS. We just recorded our CFFS podcast tonight called The Statesman, or last night, I should say, and it'll be out here in a couple of days. But there are some Fourth Amendment issues that we have to discuss that involve police and our rights and so forth. So when we're talking about the First Amendment and what happened in that church, we're going to tie it loosely to the Fourth Amendment in this story, which is going to be really, really difficult. It is really, really difficult. I was going to say it point blank. There might be a point here where I put this up all the time, and I say it all the time. Let me throw this on the screen right now. You probably have this somewhere too, right? There it is. I stand with ICE. You probably have that meme or some sort of logo or screen or whatever on your Facebook or on your social media someplace or another, and you've had to post it at various points in time or some variation of that. I stand with ICE, and I will continue to, for all of the right reasons. However, sometimes there have to be limitations, even for ICE, when it comes to the Bill of Rights, when it comes to the First Amendment. It's a big, thorny, legal thicket that we have to find our way through. And that's what Patrick and I talked about in the latest episode of The Statesman, which is our CFFS podcast. But he'll join us to talk not only about that, but also to talk about The Final Betrayal, which is Patrick's latest book on technocracy. It's a cautionary tale, and Patrick is maybe the the foremost expert in America, dare I say the world, I don't know, maybe anywhere, on the issue of technocracy and, letting the so-called experts and the so-called elites rule, give them all power and all authority based on their level of expertise or their level of technical, skills or what have you, that the rest of us should just bow down to and allow them to take over because of their particular prowess in a given field. It's a really, really dangerous thing. Patrick has written, I think, 4 books on it now. I think this is his 4th. Anyway, we're going to hit it, and we're going to talk about that and a whole lot of other things with him coming up in about 25 minutes or so. So Patrick Wood and Chris Long are going to be here. And so there's so many stories that I want to dive into today. Let me hit this one because it's light-ish, and it's disgusting. But like I said, it's light enough for me to just kind of get out. Are you going to watch the Super Bowl at all? If you're going to watch the Super Bowl, you're going to have to prepare yourself for this. Yeah, sorry. There he is. That's the bunny. Remember back in September, we were all reacting to this. That's the Bad Bunny. We showed you pictures of Bad Bunny in his previous quote-unquote work, in drag, wearing dresses, sporting fake breasts, just all kinds of really weird and radical and attention whoring, publicity shots and stunts. Because typically when you don't have talent, you resort to just trying to gain attention, shock value. Do something shocking and stunning and controversial that'll get your name out there. And to his credit, it works, and it worked for him. Shocking is what he is, and now he is going to perform at the Super Bowl. We knew this back in September, what he was all about, and I said it then. Do you think he's going to go and sing in normal clothes and straight, performance, straight meaning a couple of different things, in a performance at the Super Bowl? Hell no. You know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to go full drag. He's going to have drag queens all over that stage, and they're going to do this great big giant LGBTQ festival at the freaking Super Bowl, which is not what the Super Bowl or sports are supposed to be about. I said that literally in September, and now here we are. You can see the headline: Bad Bunny plans to use Super Bowl halftime show to honor queer icons. Plans to wear a dress. Super Bowl's in what, about 2 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks from Sunday. Conference championship games are Sunday, and then it's 2 weeks after that. And I'll just ask you point blank. I'll ask you in the chat right now, folks who are up early, and I like to let people file in before I go bombarding them with questions. But if you're in the chat right now, tell me, you gonna watch the Super Bowl? And if you are gonna watch the Super Bowl, you gonna watch that halftime show? There is supposed to be some sort of an alternative halftime show that Turning Point USA was going to be promoting. I'll be talking to, next week, I'll be talking to Brandon Rossi from Turning Point Action. It's a little bit different than Turning Point USA. It's still under the same umbrella. See what he has to say. But Turning Point's supposed to be doing some sort of a halftime show as an alternative. So when the final whistle of the half hits, just click your channel. I don't know where it's going to be, what channel or network it's going to be on, but we got to find that out, because I want to find out if you plan to watch this thing. I just got a message here saying, Bob, there's weird music playing in the background. That's not weird music. That's just that's the chill music that I like to play for the intro. But you're right, I left it on. So thanks for the heads up. Who's gonna? All right, so let's see. Is that an I or an L? Fiodi or Flode said watching. Buckeye Therese said, okay, that's the music. Yeah. I got it. It's off. The music's off. Thank you, everybody. No Super Bowl for me, says CMG. Tanya, nope, not watching the Super Bowl. Pete, I'll turn into the turning. There it is, Turning Point halftime show. Ernie, no Super Bowl, and especially never the halftime show. Let's see. Zelda, absolutely not watching. Lisa, going to a Super Bowl party. Means you're watching, or at least it's going to be on in the place you are. Roz, no plans on watching. Marty, you couldn't pay me enough to watch the Super Bowl. Someone please tell me where to watch the Turning Point halftime. Yeah, I don't know. We'd like to find that out. Casey John says no halftime. I'm assuming that means you're going to watch the Super Bowl, though, but not the halftime show. Glad I gave up the woke NFL, says CAD. Sharon, they are trying to turn football players gay. Have you seen the gummy commercial? Yeah. And, and good morning, Lindy. Thank you for saying hi. Good morning, Jimbo. And everybody else that's in the room right now. It looks like it's growing, and that's a good thing. Keep it coming. Don't forget, when you get here, hit that like button. You got to smash the like button, and you've got to hit the comment section too, not just the chat, if you're going to help the channel grow. We're a little stagnant right now because not enough people know that we're here. Again, grassroots must take over. We're stagnant in our growth. We keep bouncing between 1.3 and 1.5 thousand followers, 1,300 to 1,500, and it's like some come and some go every day because it's bouncing up and down. But that stagnation is what we got to push back against. We got to bring people in with us, okay, if we want to have a real impact here, which I know we will. It takes time. This is a very infancy program right now. But anyway, let me give you my point on this with Bad Bunny. And the entire quote unquote woke woke NFL. I stopped watching the woke NFL a few years ago to the point where I used to be able to quote every chapter and every verse of every statistic, who the statistical league leaders are, what the records were in each of the stats and everything else. Football has been a part of my life for 50 years. I mean, literally since I was a very young boy. Huge participant in, broadcaster of, and fan of football, whether it's college football, high school football, or professional football. Football is what I love. It's not the league itself. However, at the professional level, the National Football League as a league has done a damn good job of driving even me away. They start playing the Black National Anthem at the start of every season. The first home game for everybody, they play the Black National Anthem after the American National Anthem, which of course begs the question, what the hell are you trying to say, that Black people are not American? Is that what you're doing? Because when you separate and divide the national anthem and say that's just for whites, here's the Black national, okay. You are literally playing right into the hands of Marxists, which is apparently what they are, that want to divide on the basis of race. It's part of critical theory. There's oppressors, white people, here's your anthem. Here's the oppressed, Black people, here's your anthem. It is literally what helps break apart and destabilize and creates the chaos in this country that manifests itself even in things like the ICE raids that are going on right now and the massive protests as a result of those. It all plays into it. So they do that at the start of every season, and they will do that at the Super Bowl. Make no mistake about it. I stopped watching when they started kneeling for the national anthem. I stopped watching when the NFL started putting messages in end zones and on helmets and letting players put it on shoes with their little statements, their little, end racism and whatever. And while the message end racism, there's nothing wrong with that, just simply because, of course, we want to end racism. But the suggestion is that this is a systemically racist country. That's what the left pushes, and it's simply not true. Are there racists in this country? Yeah. Are they of all colors and ethnicities? Yeah. You don't think that there are people, quote unquote, of color that hate white people? They absolutely do. And you don't think that there are some people in positions of power that discriminate against white people through DEI, affirmative action, and so forth? They do. And are there some white people that hate or want to discriminate against Black people? Yeah. But individual racism in the hearts of people and in the actions of people on their own that does not make a nation systemically racist. The nation is not that. And that's what the NFL is and has been promoting. So they've taken that to another level now, from just race, but to we are going to promote and support and so on and so forth, all marginalized groups. And you know who those people are. The next year, there's probably going to be a Muslim singer, full burqa and hijab, only able to see, and oh my God, I'm sorry. I got to share this with you real quick because I posted this on Locals last night. If you have not yet seen this, the hijab and the burqa it just made me see this. Like this person who posted this on X, I too laughed way too hard at this. I don't know how well you can see that. Let me enlarge that a little bit for you. But that is just one of the. I'm gonna start laughing like a goof again. Let me zoom this up a little bit there. We all have to. It looks like zooming it doesn't zoom the picture; it only zooms the screen around it. So this is not ideal. There's not a whole lot more I can do for you on that regard, but look closely if you can. If you're watching on your phone, let me go full screen with it too. Maybe that'll help a little bit too. I don't know. We all have to scrape our windows in the wintertime. I'm just going to let it speak for itself because it was one of the funniest freaking things that I've seen on the internet in a very long time. You got to look closely if you're going to get it. And once you do get it, you're probably laughing as goofy as I am right now, or goofily, if you will. Anybody in the chat watching this, check the screen. I'm sorry, I'm just having way too much fun with this, but that's going back to my rant yesterday about, and I was talking to Dr. Piper about this, about Muslims and about Islam in general and its danger and its threat and so forth and the way they subjugate women. This was just so perfect that I found this yesterday. But it may take a second. Bob, that photo is inaccurate. They're not allowed to drive. Oh, very good. Very, very, very good. Yes, Charlie just dropped one on me there. That is very correct. Women aren't allowed to drive at all in Islam. So that's. Can you dig it? I get it on mute there for a second or two, so you may have may not have heard the "Can You Dig It" part of that. But Charlie, yes, you earned one and you got it. Anyway, back to the Bad Bunny part of this discussion. The NFL just seems to be doing its level best to drive its fan base away. Its fan base is made up of masculine men, and we know that that's considered toxic by the left. But it's masculine. Remember at the beginning of this football season too, what made the news rounds? Particularly in the online news and the social media world, they were putting male, female cheerleaders, meaning not just male cheerleaders who do like the lifting and hold the girls up as they make their, do their stunts and so forth, it happens at every college, and that's fine. A male cheerleader / lifter, there's no problem with that. But we're talking about not about that. We're talking about the men, full makeup, wearing, hot pants, and twerking and we're talking about femboy cross-dresser men doing the routines with the female cheerleaders. And NFL, I want to say about a dozen teams had at least one of them. It's like they're making it their mission to convert people into being pro-LGBTQ and to advancing this, this nonsense, as if masculine men want to watch violence happen during the play, which is what we do. We love violence in football. Big hits, hard hits, great punishing tackles and punishing runs, running over defenders and stuff, while drinking cold beer. And then during the timeouts, they honestly think we want to look down to the cheerleaders doing a routine and see some guy twerking and shaking his man ass at the cameras and at the crowds. Why are they doing that? And why are they letting Bad Bunny perform in drag on Super Bowl Sunday, which is what this report says is going to happen? It's like they're intentionally driving away their largest fan, part of their fan base. It's impossible to understand or explain, but there it is. So I just wanted to get by that real quick. And if you've got reactions to it, again, make them in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. A couple of stories that I do want to get into, though. This is one of the more troubling ones because, again, why do you think I chose the title of today's episode, You Cannot Hate the Media Enough? Because the media continues to lie in virtually every single way and every opportunity they get. So the latest anti-ICE media fabrication is that ICE kidnapped a 5-year-old boy and detained him for deportation, as if this 5-year-old boy was somehow the target. Look at some of the headlines. 5-year-old asylum seeker detained as ICE expands enforcement in Minnesota, local school officials said. The family of 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos has a pending asylum case, but no order of deportation directing that they be removed from the country. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Department of Homeland Security said ICE did not target a child. That child was abandoned. And that, my friends, is the part that I want to focus on right now, because that is exactly the case. But before we get there, let's get a little bit more pissed off because of the stories being told by the likes of, well, yeah, ADC, Alexandria Damasio-Cortez.
Is that a problem for you?
I think any step in the direction of reining in and cutting the funding of an agency that is attacking U.S. citizens, that are kidnapping 5-year-olds, that are using them as bait to open doors, and that are privately circulating that they can violate everyday Americans' constitutional rights by busting into their doors, they deserve to be defunded.
She wants to defund ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, she said, because they're detaining 5-year-olds. And that could not possibly be further from the truth. And the truth they have no interest in, obviously. It's kind of what makes them leftists. But the truth that needs to be told here is what happened. They were there to actually arrest, detain, and prepare for deportation the adult in the room, the father, presumably the father of that child. That father abandoned his kid. That father just jumped in and said, I'm out the door, and forced the agents to give chase, except for those who stayed behind because there was a 5-year-old child there. And that 5-year-old child just being abandoned by his punk ass, cowardly, illegal alien dad needed to be cared for. So the agents took the child and cared for the child. It's so funny. They screamed about child separation back during the first Trump administration, which was just lunacy, because child separation with the quote unquote kids in cages at the border and everything that was, of course, started and built by Barack Obama. But they screamed that child separation was happening. You can't separate a child from their parents. And you know, the stupid is really, really deep here, because you may or may not recall the reason that children were being separated, if you want to call it that, at the time from their parents and children being separated, is because, you know, traffickers were bringing children in by the thousands during the course of the Biden years, especially, and prior to that. Traffickers were bringing children in, and the adults are telling these kids to tell any border enforcement authorities, you know, that they were their parents. But nobody knew whether or not these kids had actually been kidnapped by cartels and were being trafficked into the United States by people who were not their parents, or not. So when they were detaining the parents who were caught for illegally, or the adults who were caught illegally entering the country, you have two choices here. Let the children who may be with traffickers there stay with them, or separate them and then figure out and get full identifications on everybody. And the other reason you couldn't put little kids in big, giant holding cells and holding facilities is because, again, kids, when's the last time you saw a child in an adult jail cell? You don't, and you wouldn't. That doesn't happen because it's not safe, because dangerous people could be doing bad things to those kids. So it was never child separation, but that's what they screamed. Fast forward to now, in this case, if for 1 second, if we accept the lie as the truth, that they were detaining this child and arresting the child and preparing them for deportation with dad, if we accept that as true, now they're complaining about that. Well, which is it? Do you oppose child separation, or family separation, or do you support family unity? If dad is getting deported and wants to take his kid with him, he damn well should, right? Well, no, that means you're deporting a child. Oh, okay. Well, if dad gets deported, the child should stay here, right? No, that means family separation. You see what they're doing? They're creating an impossible scenario involving children, letting children be used as the leverage to allow illegal aliens to stay in the country. And that's not going to fly. And the media just continues to spin the lies. It was not a 5-year-old being detained. It was not a 5-year-old being, deported or anything of that nature. It was a weak punk ass dad who ran because INS, or ICE now, has caught up to him. And he was like, the hell with the kid. I'm getting out of here. Tell the story the way it is. Tell the truth about it. And that's something that Tricia McLaughlin, DHS, number 2 in DHS underneath Kristi Noem, made very, very clear. That kid was abandoned. So that's one. And one more quick one on You Don't Hate the Media Enough. Remember Chris Cuomo? Chris Cuomo, from formerly on CNN. He got canned from CNN, went on to News Nation, and he's actually been, by and large, tolerable since he went to News Nation. Once he's done apologizing for his brother, not apologizing, protecting his former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, brother, from his seat at CNN, and all of the horrific things that Andrew Cuomo did during COVID. But, since he's kind of put most of that in the past, he's been pretty good on CNN, on News Nation, until now. Until now, when he starts taking on Scott Jennings, for Scott Jennings using the words that I use every single day when discussing the reality of illegal immigration in this country. I call them what they are called in U.S. law. It's literally in the language of the U.S. Code. Illegal aliens. The left is starting to flip out over Scott Jennings and others using the actual correct term.
How are you going to do that?
Say illegals anymore, because ICE is directly targeting legal citizens of this country. And
how are you going to enforce your edict on me, just out of curiosity?
Listen, I understand.
But just listen to his point about illegal.
No, what are you, bully now? What are you, tough guy? Because you're talking to this kid who happens to be right, calling people illegals. They're called illegal aliens in the law. And you know what? A long time ago, Republicans and Democrats switched to undocumented. Why? Because it's...
No, he didn't, you stupid son of a bitch. Only leftists like you said undocumented workers. Went from undocumented immigrants to undocumented workers to undocumented persons to newcomers to America to, asylum seekers and all the... No, people on the right and the people on the left did not. Just people like you, Chris Cuomo. Does he not have one of the most punchable faces you've ever seen? No, we did not give up what it says in U.S. law. Illegal aliens, all people like you are trying to do is soften the law breaking that is going on here. You and people on the left started calling them undocumented. But you're talking about Scott Jennings being a tough guy. Scott Jennings simply asked that smarmy little SOB on CNN who was saying, you can't say that anymore. You can't say illegal. Say, really? How are you going to enforce that edict? He didn't say want to fight. Chris Cuomo has a screw loose. Every time I think he's crossed, a little bit, came a little bit closer to being reasonable, he does his segments with Bill O'Reilly. And every time I think maybe there's a little bit of hope for this guy, he goes back to being full on woke leftist a-hole, which is exactly what he's doing here. And trying to, bully Scott Jennings, saying that Scott Jennings is bullying the punk kid from Parkland who was on CNN, telling Scott Jennings that he's not allowed to say that anymore. I would have said the same thing. Really? Who's going to stop me from saying it? You do realize we have that amendment. It was the very first one that the founders actually gave us that says I can call them whatever I want to call them. And oh, by the way, U.S. law calls them this. What do you mean? How are you going to enforce this? You're not allowed to say that anymore. But here's more from this twit.
Deemed inhuman. That's why. They changed the vernacular, and you know it. But that's not the point. The point is, how are you going to do it? What are you going to do? What are you? You're a tough guy now, huh? I thought you were just supposed to be the simpering, but, open to conversation Trump defender. Of course, I remember you when you said he was like the worst thing in the world. But everything's convenience these days, right? It's getting you paid. But be careful. If you want to be a tough guy, there are plenty of tough guys out there. You want to see how somebody can make you stop saying illegal? And then what are you going to do? Sue? Tough guy. How are you going to enforce that? So somebody...
I think Chris Cuomo's on drugs. Quite frankly, I do. I don't think there's any explanation for his behavior and his... You remember, this is a guy who, when he was on CNN, when he worked for CNN, Chris Cuomo would would make sure he was on camera in the dressing room, prior to shows, doing push-ups. So everybody could see how much of a tough guy. Look at what a tough guy I am. He would sit there and do curls with his dumbbells, in the makeup chair, crap like that. Because he wanted everybody to see what a tough guy he is, what a tough guy. He morphs between being reasonable and being an a-hole, unlike really anybody I've seen in a very long time. I think he's bipolar or he's on drugs. Sometimes he's whacked out of his mind. Sometimes he's not. Obviously, that's just an opinion. I'm not stating anything as a fact, so you can keep your damn slander and defamation suit to yourself, Chris Cuomo, but sometimes you act like you're whacked out, and sometimes you don't. And to attack Scott Jennings for this, they are illegal, okay? By definition, somebody that does something that is not legal is doing something that is illegal. Somebody who steals, somebody who robs, a person who robs is called a robber. Somebody who kills is called a killer. Somebody who jaywalks is called a jaywalker. And somebody who is in a country illegally is an illegal. If somebody is a foreigner to that country, they are an alien. And the two words together form illegal alien. I'm sorry to have to break this down in such an elementary fashion for people like for Chris Cuomo, but it is what it is. All right. We're supposed to be checking in with Patrick Wood here very shortly. And in fact, okay, I'm checking. He's not in the green room yet, and I'm checking to see if I've got a message from him. And let's see. Yeah, I don't see him in the green room. So, Patrick, I think you're going to have to, if you're watching somewhere, Patrick, I think you're going to have to try to get in via that link again, because you are not here in the green room waiting for me. So, Patrick, put that into your computer, if you would. I'm sending him the link again to make sure that he's got it to join us here, because he does have a lot to say. Staying on ice, though, because J.D. Vance, Vice President of the United States, he went to Minnesota yesterday to try to talk some sense into those radical lunatics about what protesting is all about, what legal protesting is versus what rioting, impeding, and obstructing is. And I think what I saw yesterday, I watched probably about, 10, 12 minutes or whatever of J.D. Vance speaking and then holding court and answering questions. I honestly think what I saw yesterday was what a president looks and sounds like. I'm not kidding you. He is so, what I was reminded of yesterday when I watched J.D. Vance up there trying to explain to the loons what is really going on. I was reminded of the debate stage here in Ohio in 2022 when J.D. Vance was making his first run for public office. He was running for Senate. And I remember on the debate stage, we had Josh Mandel up there and Mike Gibbons up there and Bernie Moreno. And I'm trying to remember who else was a part of this at that time. Doesn't matter, I suppose. But I remember watching everybody else. And then I remember watching J.D. Vance when he stood up and took the microphone and worked the stage. And it was just different, as they like to say. Some people are just built different. That's not to say some of the other folks on the stage weren't impressive. But J.D. Vance had a presentation and a shine to his ability to communicate that was just next level. And I said at that time on radio, on terrestrial radio at the time, I said, that guy's not stopping at the Senate. If he wins the Senate, that guy wants to be president someday. He's that good. And I had no idea back then in 2022 that Donald Trump would choose J.D. Vance to be his running mate. And now he is positioned to potentially be president in 3 years. But I remember just the vibe I got watching him present and watching him handle difficult questions and handle himself, quite frankly. And I knew something was special at that time. And what I saw yesterday reminded me of that. He's there in front of a hostile media, because what other kind is there? He was there in front of a hostile media, asking him questions, trying to attack the Trump administration, to attack him personally, J.D. Vance, for, the ICE operations and for, the shooting of Renee Good and of all of it, the entire Operation Metro Surge, trying to blame him and blame them. And I saw him handle himself with a, like I said, with a skill that is very, very rare. It's why he is where he is, and it's what I saw a few years ago. Here is a very small taste of J.D. Vance in Minnesota yesterday.
We're focused on Minneapolis because that's where we have the highest concentration of people who have violated our immigration laws, and that's also, frankly, where we see the most assault of our law enforcement officers. I mean, our plan is very simple. If you assault a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to do everything that we can to put you in prison. It's very simple. And most of these protesters, as much as I may disagree with their politics, most of them have been peaceful, but a lot of them have not been peaceful. And if you go and storm a church, if you go and insult a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to try very hard. We're going to use every resource of the federal government to put you in prison. Respect people's rights. Respect people's rights to worship. Respect people's rights to do their job without being assaulted. If you follow that basic principle, the Trump administration is going to do everything that we can to protect your rights. But if you go after somebody, if you assault somebody, if you make a 9-year-old girl cry because you walked into her church and harassed her, we're going to go after you with every single tool that we have.
Like I said, that's one small taste of what he did yesterday. He, like I said, he fielded every question. It was extraordinary watching and listening to J.D. Vance yesterday. And I apologize, I'm a little distracted because I'm trying to see if Patrick Wood is in the green room yet. He's having a bit of a struggle with his connection. He says he's on it waiting, but he's not in the green room yet. So for whatever reason, he's not able to connect at this point in time. But I really want to have him to talk about his book and to talk about, well, I'm going to start without him on this one because we did a taping yesterday of our CFFS podcast called The Statesman. We did it last night. It's going to be released on the CFFS Rumble page and a few other places, technocracy.news, Citizens for Free Speech. It's going to be in some other places. Yeah, and Patrick is not. Patrick, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but yeah, it doesn't have you in the green room on the screen. For whatever reason. I want to bring him on to talk about this. You know what I may have to do? I may be forced to go into a short timeout here. So here's the music that was playing before that some people complained about. Sorry, I'm going to give you a little bit of music. I'm going to ask you to hang on while I try to get Patrick Wood in this room. So sit tight and back in a second. Okay, we're working on it. Patrick is in error. I feel bad because he's unable to navigate this and get this up just yet, because he's up early doing this for us. He's in Pacific time. We get Patrick live from Arizona, and so he's up at it's a 2-hour window right now, and so it's 5:44 there, and he's up trying to connect with us, but he's unable to find the room. It would appear. Yeah, he's messaging and it's just not seeming to work. So yeah, so Pat, if you get into the green room and you see and hear me through Restream, then you'll know you're in. He's in a different room. He typed in. It looks like he typed in my name or my email address as opposed to this show, strictly speaking, Unfiltered. So he's got to use the right link. Pat, if you do find your way in and you see that you are in the green room and you see and hear me on Restream, please let me know. Text me back. In fact, I'll even turn the notifications on my phone so that I can hear you do that if you do get in. So if we can't connect with Patrick, then I'm going to lay this out for you. And I'm going to ask you your opinion in the chat. Let me peek into the chat for a moment here and see what's happening. Okay, we got a decent crowd inside of the chat room right now. And if you are not, by the way, if you're not in the Rumble chat, please get there. In all seriousness, I love people watching wherever you're watching, and we did indeed grow the YouTube channel now, and we're indeed sharing this on Facebook. But if you want to join the conversation and not just listen to me, but get into the chat, do it on the Rumble page. So go to Rumble and look for Strictly Speaking Unfiltered with Bob Frantz, and let's see in there. So, okay, to the chatters, I want to ask you this question: is there ever a reason, a justifiable one, for the Fourth Amendment, your Fourth Amendment rights to be violated? Okay? I'm sorry, I'm still distracted because Pat is trying to negotiate this connection for us, but he is still not showing up in the green room. Yeah, and I need to let him know that. Sometimes you got to fly by the seat of your pants here, and that's exactly what we're doing. And sometimes things go well, and sometimes they don't. And right now, it's just not connecting for whatever reason. We haven't had any problems with anybody else connecting in the green room or getting in through that link so far. But for whatever reason, it's not wanting to hook up Arizona and Ohio. So, Pat, don't worry about it. We can do this another day if it's going to be this problematic, and I feel bad. He got up early just for us, and it's not there. It's not connected. There is no green room. There's no person in the green room, unfortunately. So we'll try it another time, Patrick. Go back to sleep. Get yourself some sleep. It's no problem. I'm going to try to carry this through our conversation last night. So we did the show last night, the CFFS Statesman podcast, and Patrick brought up this case in which there is a Fourth Amendment issue that is basically prevailing right now in the battle over ICE and its efforts to find, detain, arrest, and deport the criminal illegal aliens that are on their list that they're targeting. So the bottom line is, what's happening is the Department of Homeland Security is telling ICE, loosely here, this is a loose definition, telling ICE agents that if you know where one of these criminal aliens that we are seeking is, you can go to their door and knock on their door and say you are here to serve a warrant to arrest for being in this country illegally, somebody who has been given final orders of deportation and failed to honor that. If you have been given an order to deport, to leave the country, and you don't do it voluntarily, you are now a fugitive. So DHS is telling ICE that they can go to the door, knock on the door, and saying, we're here to do what you wouldn't do, which is remove you. If they won't let you in, and all you have is an administrative warrant, not a judicial warrant, they're saying you can break the door down, or you can go in forcefully, find a way to go in. Whatever that looks like is the issue here. And go in and get that individual on just an administrative warrant. Tricia McLaughlin, who is the number 2, as I said before, at DHS, she's going to come on this show very soon, by the way. She serves under Kristi Noem, obviously. Tricia McLaughlin is responding to this story, saying, and I want to give you a quote here. In fact, I might even be able to share this story with you on screen. Because again, this is what Patrick and I spent a great deal of time talking about last night on the CFFS podcast. Yeah, so here's the story briefly. Yeah, now we're going to get all kinds of noises here because I turned my notifications on so I could hear from Pat. But here's the story that you need to know about this. According to the memo circulated by ICE, I kind of just described that already. It told agents, circulated by DHS, I should say, it told ICE agents that they can use force to enter a residence based solely on a more narrow administrative warrant to arrest someone with a final order of removal, a move that advocates say collides with Fourth Amendment protections. And that's what Pat and I had a very long discussion of, and you'll see it when you watch the episode. But I want to have the discussion with you now, because I know how I feel, and I know how Pat feels, and I want to see how you feel about it. The shift, this is the AP's reporting now, so take it for what it's worth. The shift comes as the Trump administration dramatically expands immigration arrests nationwide, deploying thousands of officers under a mass deportation campaign that is already reshaping enforcement tactics in cities such as Minneapolis. For years, immigrant advocates, legal aid groups, and local governments have urged people not to open their doors to immigration agents unless they're shown a warrant signed by a judge. The guidance is rooted in the Supreme Court rulings that generally prohibit law enforcement from entering a home without judicial approval. The ICE directive directly undercuts that advice at a time when arrests are accelerating under the administration's immigration crackdown. So that's just the little, kind of mini presentation from the Associated Press. So here's the dilemma. And this is the point that I was trying to make before about typically, generally speaking, we would all consider the Fourth Amendment, like all of the amendments in the Bill of Rights and the whole Constitution, but especially with the focus on the Bill of Rights, we consider them all to be sacrosanct. You cannot violate, you cannot take away somebody's civil liberties, their First Amendment, or I'm sorry, their bill, the rights granted to them in the Bill of Rights and in the Constitution. The Fourth Amendment is extremely important because our right to sanctuary in our own homes absolutely must be protected. And the government can't come in and illegally search and seize in your home or in your car or whatever the property is that we're talking about, again, without a warrant. Here's the problem. Here's the conundrum. DHS knows that the individuals on their list that they're giving to the ICE agents to go and find and deport, that these people have been given final orders of deportation. That means they are in the right to go and track them down and grab them and arrest them and announce that they are being deported and carry out the deportation. They are in the right to do that. Final orders of deportation in these cases have been given and ignored by the individuals, right? So they're absolutely right. If they find them in a grocery store, they're going to arrest them in the grocery store. They're going to detain them. They're going to deport them. If they find them in the park, if they find them at their place of work, they're going to go get them. What if they find them in their house? Shouldn't be any different, right? Shouldn't be any difference at all. If he's in his house and you know where he is, go in and get him. No problem. Except for the problem of the Fourth Amendment. Fourth Amendment says that the government can't go into your house without a bench warrant without a bench warrant, an actual warrant from a judge. An administrative warrant signed only by the Department of Homeland Security is not enough. That doesn't get it done. So we have a clash here between judges, and this is the problem. There's already been a judge, an immigration judge, who says final orders of deportation signed. Go get them out of here. And ICE is acting on the orders of that judge. Go get them. But now another judge, not an immigration judge, but another judge has to sign off on them going into their house to get them. And if that judge won't sign off, whose order is more valid? The immigration judge that says final orders of deportation, get them the hell out of here, or the other judge who says you can't go into their house to get them? And I'm not signing a warrant that says you can. Which judge's order takes precedence? Well, the Fourth Amendment would say, sadly, but in reality, the second judge. Because if you don't have that actual judicial warrant, you can't go into that illegal alien's house, because if you can, then other government officials can go into your house. And you might not be an illegal alien. You might be suspected of doing something, I don't know, relatively harmless or innocuous, but if they want, and they want to come and get you and search and look for you and look for evidence and other things like that without a judicial warrant, they would have a precedent here to do so. So we've got ourselves a real struggle, don't we? And, you know, because when I talked this over on our taping yesterday with Pat, and again, you'll see it, Pat kind of said that the real solution here, a pretty good solution here, would be to have, you know, that other judge just sign off and say, yes, you can go into the house to go get him. And I said, but we aren't dealing with regular judges in the United States anymore. Activists wearing robes are carrying the label of judge, but they're not judges. They're activists, and they're doing everything they can to stop the Trump administration from carrying out its agenda. And we've all seen the graphic on social media, you know, one of the memes about all of the deportations carried out by George W. Bush, all of the deportations carried out by Barack Obama. And then underneath it, number of judicial challenges, 0. And then number of deportations carried out by Donald Trump. And the number is actually smaller, but number of challenges, 300. What? Huh? What? How? Why? Because left-wing activists are completely embedded into our government, and they are completely embedded into the judiciary. So you got all of these left-wing lawyers, you know, filing suits to stop people from being deported, and they're going to left-wing judges. They're judge shopping, and these judges are saying, nope, can't deport them. Remember Boasberg, who, by the way, is being referred to for impeachment, possibly? Judge Boasberg, he was the one when a plane load of MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gang members was headed to El Salvador, to the Supermax prison there. Remember this? Deported from the United States, all of them allowed into the United States, welcoming committee by Sleepy Joe Biden, Skeletor, the crypt keeper, whatever you want to call him. He looks like all of the above. Joe Biden let all of these animals, subhuman animals, into the country to continue their horrific crime operations. And they were all arrested under Trump, and they were being deported, which they absolutely should be. And Judge Boasberg said, turn that plane around in midair, do a U-turn, and you bring them back right here for due process. More due process. They were deported legally. They were deported within the confines of the federal government's rights and purview. They were deported legally, and left-wing activist judges said, bring them back. Same thing with Mahmoud Khalil, the Maryland dad. Left-wing judges are trying to obstruct the Trump agenda, no matter what it is, and no matter what the consequences are. And they're doing it every single day. So my point being, in our little clash here, should DHS be allowed to tell ICE agents to go into homes where they know one of the targets of the sweep is hiding without a judicial warrant if a judge, an activist judge, refuses to sign one? Because like Boasberg and others, that's happening. They're not able to get a judicial warrant because these activists don't agree with Trump on anything, including and especially the deportation proceedings. So what do we do? From a Fourth Amendment rights perspective, and I want to go back into the chat now. I was really hoping to talk over some of this stuff with Patrick, but again, for whatever reason, the issue is the issue. So I want to go back into the chat now and find out from the Fourth Amendment perspective, do you think ICE agents ought to be able to go in and get these illegals without a warrant, without a judicial warrant? If all they have is an administrative warrant, should they be allowed to go in, or does that put all of us at risk? Because that's always the way it goes. There is a precedent that is set, that is ultimately and eventually followed. And if they can suspend the First Amendment rights of some people, then they can turn around and suspend it for other people. And if they can suspend the Fourth Amendment rights of some people that we don't like and that we don't care for, are we then in fear of, and should we be in fear of them suspending the Fourth Amendment rights of innocent people like you or me? If the government comes to your door and you say, wait, what? You want to search for what? What are you talking about? No, I'm not letting you come in here. Show me a warrant. And they don't have a judicial warrant with the judge's signature. And then I say no. And then they say, too bad. We get to kick in your door and we're coming in anyway. I can't have that happen. We can't have that happen, right? But we also can't allow criminal illegal aliens to hide in their houses and avoid and escape justice. We're going to do park an agent outside of every single home of every single illegal and wait for them to leave so that we're not violating Fourth Amendment search and seizure. I mean, is that what we're going to have to do? It can't be that way. Let's see. I want to get into the chat here and see what folks are saying. Yo, Jimbo. Yeah, I'm glad you're loving the Red, White, Raisin Hell song. I am too. I love it. And I if I had time in my day, in my life right now to make a video of that kind of fit with the theme of it all, rather than just a B-roll of me doing the show, I would. Believe me, I would. If there are any graphic digital creators out there that want to do a little collab here, want to do a little work with me, by all means, take that song and make a video and put it together and send it to me. I'll play it and I'll use it on the show every single day. If anybody's got the skills, by all means do that. I have very, very limited editing skills. I can do some things. I've made some things, and I can write some lyrics and I can do some parodies, but I'm not capable of doing certain things. If you want to build a video like that, by all means, send it my way. I would love it. To the issue now. Let's see where we are. Lois Irene says, JD always seems to be composed and happy, plus those blue eyes. And by the way, one other thing about JD, just since that kind of set the topic in motion here, he was asked about, Minnesota and why Minnesota. And there really does seem to be something different about that place. Minneapolis and Minneapolis-St. Paul. There's something different about it. We know how radical and off the rails leftist California is. We know how radical and off the rails leftist New York City is. We know how off the rails leftist Chicago is, San Francisco, Portland, Seattle, and so forth. But there's something uniquely, there's something unique about Minneapolis. And Vice President Vance was talking about that too. Because he was asked, why do you have so many agents in this particular city? And why are we doubling down on that and sending even more? And he correctly pointed out there's something different about Minneapolis. In many of the other places we send these numbers of agents, they're in there, they go in there, they do their job with minimal resistance, they get the people they're looking for out, and they move on. And there's no problem. But Minneapolis seems to have I don't know if it's in the water, but a thirst for protest and for rioting and for violence and for burning things and for obstructing and for blocking and for, impeding and so forth. They did it all during the summer of love, and now they're doing it in the winter of our discontent. There's something about Minnesota. It's very, very bizarre. And Vice President Vance said, look, as soon as you just meet us halfway, give us a little bit of cooperation from local and state officials, local and state law enforcement, cooperate a little bit with federal law enforcement officers who are just doing their jobs, and we won't have any problem. We'll get done what needs to get done, and we'll move on. Got to remember, the targeted enforcement of our immigration laws here and the need for this mass deportation was not created by Donald J. Trump. Trump tried his level best to close the borders off that were still wide open from Obama. And yes, two things can be true. Obama can have been called the deporter in chief and had 5.2 million deportations, they say, during his time, and also allow an open border, because he did. And when Trump came in, Trump tried to build the big, beautiful wall, if you remember, and got some of it built, but it was more than just a wall. It was enforcement with human resources and border patrol increases and so forth. And it was by far a much more controlled border under Trump the first time around. Then Biden came in and tore what little parts of the wall that were built down, and then literally rolled out the red carpet and said, come on, come one, come all, from all around the world. And when you allow 12 to 20 million illegal aliens into the country, and then the next guy takes over, what choice does he have? He doesn't have any other choices. He has to do what he's doing right now, and that is the American people gave him a mandate to clear this country of these dangerous illegals who are committing some horrific crimes while they're here. Not to mention those who aren't committing horrific crimes, but are just absorbing American resources, jobs, housing, education, spots in classrooms, healthcare, food, all of the subsidies and the free stuff that we give to illegals and have been giving to illegals that American citizens who are impoverished, who have been suffering for so long, don't have any access to whatsoever. It's just insane to allow that to continue. So that's why Trump was given a mandate by the people to go and get rid of this massive number of illegals. So all he's doing is what he was asked to do, what he promised to do, what the American people voted for, 77 million strong, and said, check, that's us, that's what we want, go do it. And now they're literally, and J.D. Vance is saying, we're doing what the law says we're supposed to do and what the people gave us an order to do. All we need you to do is meet us halfway. We're not saying you have to go and catch all the bad guys. Just do us a favor and don't get in the way. Cooperate when you do have one of the bad guys already in custody for something else, and we've got a detainer on him, hold him till we get there and pick him up. And keep the crazies away. Stop letting them block traffic. Stop letting them box in vehicles. Stop letting them try to run down our agents. Keep the crazies away and just let us do our job. If we have even that much cooperation, we'll be done here a lot faster and on our way. But they won't do that. And they tell the illegals how to avoid being deported. They tell them to go inside their homes, close the door, don't let anybody in without a judicial warrant. That's your safe space. That's your home base. They can't get you when you're in there. So they give them all of this advice, and here comes ICE with administrative warrants and orders, final orders of deportation, and they're not allowed in. Fourth Amendment says so. Let me see. Let me get back into the chat here. Zelda says, seems like the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply if you are conservative. That may be true. That may be true. Protesting, Yojimbo says, needs to be in specific zoned city safe spaces. This go anywhere protesting is a type of harassment. It's more than a type of harassment. It is harassment, and it is obstruction, and it is impeding, and it is illegal, which is why I continue to say I will not be happy until Minnesota ICE or ICE agents dispatched to Minnesota break out the zip ties for everyone behind their back and then lay them in the snow while you wait for the paddy wagons to come. I'm sorry for the redundancy on that, but that's what has to happen. Make it uncomfortable for them. And if you're trying to disperse the crowd with just tear gas and pepper spray, no, remember, it's single digit cold up there. Use the water cannons. Soak them. Watch how fast they run to their homes to get in front of the fireplace. Then you can do your job without them being around. There has to be some deterrence. Charlie says the U.S. Constitution only applies to American citizens and that there can be limitations on the rights of non-citizens, especially those here illegally. That's not the point, Charlie. That's the point that Patrick and I talk about in The Statesman, on the CFFS podcast that you'll see. It's not about that. If they can break down the door or kick in the door or whatever, force their way inside, of a home to get an illegal alien, what if it's the wrong home? What if it's your home or my home? If the precedent is set that they can kick in the door without a judicial warrant on just an administrative warrant, which is basically, it's more than a hunch, but you get the point here. If they can do that, in those homes, then what happens to everybody else's homes? And simply, I don't think that the Constitution says specifically for American citizens when it comes to the Bill of Rights. It's America. It's for the people in America. I don't know that it says must be American citizen and not illegal alien in order for the First Amendment, Fourth Amendment, and the entire Bill of Rights to be impactful and to be protected and preserved. CAD says, although illegals have no rights, so I'm good with it. Again, you're talking about potentially allowing law enforcement to, if they can do this with the illegal alien search, that they can look in your home and search. That's what warrants are about. Look, let me put it to you another way too. Jimbo says the idea that anyone in the U.S. gets all the rights of a U.S. citizen is such an insult. What's the benefit of being a citizen then? Paying for everything. It's a joke. That is a very, very good point. And their rights, by the way, ended when they broke the law to get in here, which is why we're trying to throw them in the hell out of here. But again, the home has to be, for all of us, has to be a protected place, the quote unquote a safe space. I don't want to get wokey on that, obviously. But here's the problem. If we didn't have evidence over the course of the last 12 months of activist judges literally setting aside the law in order to advance a left-wing agenda and to engage in Trump derangement syndrome, stopping Trump, like I've said many times, they couldn't defeat Trump at the ballot box, so they decided we're going to beat him in the courtrooms. And the whacked out left-wing George Soros judges and George Soros prosecutors almost guaranteed that that's the case. If that wasn't the case, if we actually had judges that were interested in justice, then we would have a different conversation now, because then we would all be able to say, fine, go get the judicial warrant. You've got a list of names of people with final orders of deportation on this list that DHS is working off of. Give that list to the judges and let the judges go, yep, go get them, go get them, go get them, go get them. And that means they can go into these homes and they can force the door open. But because of people like Boasberg and scores of other federal judges and all that we have seen in the past year, we can't trust them to sign the warrant, which is why DHS is telling them to go in just on the administrative warrants. Let's see. That's the problem. CMG says the judges are libtards. Yeah, that's exactly the point of all of this. Fed Up Granny says, if citizens want the illegals deported, shouldn't that take precedent? Yeah, it should. It should. But again, we don't want to see the rights violated, even of the illegal aliens, because then it's easier for them to, and when I say them, here's the real shit of it all. Sorry. It's unfiltered. So no, I'm not sorry. Here's the real shit of it all. The left has no problem destroying, stealing, blocking, killing your First Amendment rights when they're in power. And because of that, and we know that if they return to power and they have precedent of us sending in agents without judicial warrants into homes to get illegals, they will use that immediately to kick in the doors like they've done with the FBI in the past already, to go to people's homes who go to school board meetings and complain about the content of the curriculum. They're going to, people who are praying outside of abortion clinics, they're going to have a green light to go in and search and illegally search and seize inside people's homes of conservatives. And so our point here is, we can't give them that precedent by doing this to people that we don't like. Sometimes we have to recognize that the bigger issue and the principle of the Constitution and of the First Amendment and of the Fourth Amendment and so forth, and of course, obviously the Second Amendment, but we can't we can't say that those only apply to certain people. They have to apply to everybody, or else we're screwed and they apply to nobody. When they take over, we're silenced again. Look at what they did with the First Amendment on X and on Meta, Facebook, Instagram, all of the different platforms, Google, all of the different platforms that didn't like things that people said or tweeted or posted or commented or whatever. They just went, you're gone. They deleted accounts. They blocked, Donald Trump, given an indefinite suspension from social media. What? The president of the United States? Yep, that's what they could do. And we, as conservatives and believers in the First Amendment, believers in the Bill of Rights, what did we do? We screamed and said, oh my God, you can't do that. And all we could do is scream until Elon showed up and bought Twitter and said, yeah, we're reversing that. And then Trump won again. And suddenly Meta is more cooperative again about letting people have their accounts back. The point being, when Democrats have power and have authority and have charge, they're going to silence us at every chance that they get. We have to make sure that we are above that and that we are not participating in that. We have to make sure that the voices of even people we despise have every right to be heard as much as we have the right to be heard. They don't see it the same way. They try to silence us, but that's not what we do. Big Jake, these nutbag judges didn't sign the Constitution. They don't want to make up the rule. They don't get to make up the rules. You're right. You're right. But they do. They are. The nutbag judges are making up the rules. Sharon says they must make sure they have the right house before breaking down doors, but be sure that the person is there. Past administrations have used force for political reasons. And you see, it is yes, fed up granny, it is a ridiculous situation. But that part about the right house, mistakes have been made before. SWAT teams, FBI, federal agents, and local police have gotten the wrong address before. They have been told that the fugitive killer or whatever the crime might be, suspected rapist or whatever, they're at 4519 Longfellow Drive. And it's all right there on the forms. And come to find out that whoever wrote it the first time on the form was wrong. It's not 4519 or 4915 or whatever I said. It's the other. And they wrote it down wrong. And somebody then goes into looking for justifiably a rapist, kicks in the door of innocent people, and creates an unbelievably dangerous situation, because innocent people inside of a home whose door is being kicked in are probably, if they're armed and Second Amendment protected, probably going to be thinking, oh my God, we're being attacked. And you could end up having a very, very dangerous, situation involving a shootout. But it's why we have to make sure that there are judicial warrants, and so that those incidents of mistaken address are minimized, because they're going to happen. Mistakes are going to happen. Somebody is going to write down the wrong address and so forth. But if we let our federal agents and agencies kick in doors looking for illegals, the ability for them to kick in doors looking for a lot of other things is going to be widely expanded. And that's what, I think people who are First Amendment and maybe Fourth Amendment absolutists are worried about. I don't like it. I don't like the idea of an illegal being able to hide in a house and be told, nah, or to say, nah, you can't come in and get me, because we don't have a judge who's willing to sign a warrant to do that. I don't think that's good policy. I don't think that's good precedent. I think that's terrible. But I also don't want our Fourth Amendment rights being violated by the government, ever. That's the problem. The bad illegal guys are mixed up with the non-bad guys, and there are cases where all were arrested by ICE and then sorted out later, period. That is true. Did you see some worshipers joining the protesters during church invasion, standing, raising hands for Renee? Did they pee their pants, or are they that woke? It's a fair question. Fair question. Did they join in because they felt intimidated, or were they just in agreement, but they also happened to go to church? I don't know. Oh, and it doesn't matter. If one parishioner in that church felt intimidated, harassed, and targeted by these nut jobs coming in there and interrupting that service, charges have to be filed. And sadly, not enough charges have been filed. To my understanding, only 3 people thus far have had warrants issued for their arrests. Kristi Noem says there's going to be more. I don't know. I don't know if there are going to be more, but there absolutely should be. And what's really, really infuriating is that Don Lemon, who was, one of the most high-profile people there, Don Lemon was not issued a warrant for his arrest. The judge who issued the warrant for the 3 that are being arrested specifically and intentionally exempted Don Lemon from this, which, of course, like I said before, has Pam Bondi just enraged, as well as she should be. I'm trying to find the other part of the story. All right, I'm not able to find that one at the moment, but that's okay. Here's one that I did mention a little bit earlier that is tied into all of this. The Maryland dad, he's finally on his way out. He's finally on his way out. He's been reportedly supposed to have been sent to, I want to say, at least 5 different countries by now. And again, left-wing judges continue to give him a break and not force the deportation. But Mahmoud Khalil is now apparently, maybe I can watch it this way. Yeah, this might be better for you. Is apparently now on his way to Algeria, according to Tricia
detained and was scheduled for deportation after organizing and allegedly being part of a Columbia University apartheid divest group that is overtly pro-terrorism, praises terrorists like Yahya Sinwar, who killed dozens of Americans on October 7th. He was then released by a judge. Yeah. You guys just got a ruling that says that judge had no jurisdiction to allow him to be released. Are there plans now to rearrest him and continue with deportation proceedings?
There are. And it looks like he'll go to Algeria. That's what the thought is right now. It's a reminder for those who are in this country on a visa or on a green card. You're a guest in this country. Act like it. It is a privilege, not a right, to be in this country to live or to study. And if you are pushing propaganda that relishes the killings of Americans or promotes terrorists, doors that way.
Mahmoud Khalil, who is the Syrian national who
you are a guest in this country, act like it. That is exactly right. And far too many people, particularly on the left, don't seem to understand that. You are not an American citizen. And if you are an American citizen and you abuse and violate your citizenship status the way some of these Somali nationals who are granted citizenship have and are defrauding the country and are sending money back to their home countries as opposed to trying to support and help grow the economy in this country, to me, you have no business being allowed to stay here. You should absolutely be deportable as well. You're a guest in this country, act like it. If you become a citizen of this country, act like it. Tricia McLaughlin is exactly right. The point that she was making there is an obvious one. And Mahmoud Khalil, simply, by harassing and participating in and doing all of the ridiculous stuff that he was involved in. First of all, the fact that he's an MS-13 member is enough to say bye-bye. But the fact that, he was one of the ringleaders of all of these, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas, October 7th, all of the crap that he was responsible for meant that, you're not welcome in this country anymore. If you've been given final orders of deportation, then I don't give a crap if you go to Algeria or, to Mars. You got to go. And I'm sick and tired of the handcuffs being placed not on the criminals, but on the agents who are trying to enforce the law. All right, let me see if there's anything else. Oh, yeah, there's one other thing I want to get to before I get to Pastor Chris Long. Chris Long from the Ohio Christian Alliance coming on at 8:30. It's about 8 minutes from now. This is one more that is going to tick you off if you don't already know this. In fact, let me pull it up on Locals because I posted this last night. Things are not getting better for Congressman Max Miller. Max Miller came on this program 2 weeks ago, right? 2 or 3, because I had to ask him about his vote. Why, Max Miller, did you join 16 other Republicans to join with all of the Democrats to pass a new 3-year extension of the Obamacare/Biden COVID care subsidies that are going directly to the insurance companies and leading to higher premiums for patients? Why on earth would you join with Hakeem Jeffries? I had to bring him on And he, to his credit, Max Miller came on. And people have been screaming for his being primaried, for him to be primaried. Let me zoom this up a little bit for you here so you can see this a little bit better. After that vote, after the subsidies vote. And now that he has done it again, I don't know what he's thinking, and I don't know what's going to happen here, but I do know that people are done and people are fed up. And what I'm talking about here is this vote. Let me share this with you first. 57 House Republicans just joined all Democrats, almost all Democrats, to ensure the government can shut off your car whenever it wants. It's the Thomas Massie of Kentucky Part B Amendment, number 1, on agreeing to the amendment. And this is that bizarre story of where the federal government wants to be able to establish, and Charlie should be able to speak to this, by the way, establish a law that allows the car makers to electronically rig your vehicle to the point where if the government doesn't like what you're doing, where you're going, or how you're driving, that they can literally disable your vehicle with basically a switch is what it comes down to. Okay. So Max Miller was once again, where did that screen go? Sorry, hang on a second here. The local screen, there it is. So Max Miller is one of again, a select 3 Republicans in Ohio, and it's the same people he joined with in voting for the extension of the subsidies to vote for this. He, along with Dave Joyce, another woke supposed Republican in Northeast Ohio, and Mike Carey, those 3 again. During debate on H.R. 7148, the 2026 spending bill for labor, health, and education, et cetera, this is Massey's amendment in there. That's what we're talking about here. Max Miller is among those who voted for it. Ohio congressman who decided with the Dems to instill mandatory car kill switches. Aren't these the same guys who voted with Democrats to extend the Obamacare subsidies? Max Miller again? Yes. Anonymous Chef? Yes, it is. Same 3 people. What do you say about that? I don't know. I've given Max Miller the benefit of every doubt. I've had him on this program. I've asked him the tough questions, but I've allowed him opportunities to speak and make his case for why he's doing what he's doing. I'm running out of ways to run interference. I don't get it. T-Bach 4, of course, at Max Miller, Ohio, is on this list. SMH. Wonder what Max will say this time. Dude sure votes like a rhino. I will personally never vote for this guy again. At Strongsville GOP, he is not MAGA. And remember, Max Miller cut his teeth politically in the Trump White House, working for President Trump 45. I mean, he's got a relationship with Trump. He's the reason I did the one-on-one interview with Trump. Max Miller helped arrange it for me because, Max Miller went to bat for me with the president, said, this is a really good guy, a popular host in Northeast Ohio. You got to talk to him. And I got an uninterrupted 20-minute interview with the president of the United States, thanks to Max Miller. So that's one of the reasons I've been giving him the benefit of the doubt. But he knows that I won't kiss ass, and I will call him out. I've had many a battle with him over the last few years. But I don't understand where he's coming from here. Again, Deb, yeah, but when you have, that looks like a horse and that looks like, oh no, yeah, that's a donkey. So that would be an ass and that looks like a hole. Like Dave Joyce, Max Miller, and Mike Carey, who consistently vote with the Dems, what good are they? They need to be primaried. So, I mean, I just had a bunch of messages like this, tweets. That I just collected and threw up here to say, Max Miller, what the hell is going on? This is not going well for you again. What do you want to say to Max Miller? And once again, I'll turn to our friends in the chat and ask you, what do you want to say to Max Miller? This is getting to be very, very frustrating. Politically incorrect mechanic says someone needs to run against Miller. Nobody is. Nobody is. Charlie also says, all modern vehicles now have some sort of a connection, especially through GPS and the telematic systems for software updates. All of your car's computers are linked together via LAN, local area network. About 4 years ago, there was a story about somebody hacking Jeeps through the Uconnect system and causing them to crash or shut down. So the point is, there's two issues here. Issue number one is the kill switches. Should the government have the right to shut off your vehicle because they don't like how you're driving or where you're going or what you're doing? And you might say, I can see a reason for that. Police chases might be a thing of the past. Police chases, sadly and unfortunately, often cause collateral damage. Innocent people being hit during the chase. Cops being hurt during the chase. And so if we can eliminate the chases by flipping a kill switch on a vehicle, okay, I can see some merit to that. But once again, it's like the same thing we were talking about with the Fourth Amendment. If the government has the control and the right to take away your rights, if the government has the right to take away somebody else's rights, they then have the right to take away yours. And if they can go after a person who's, in a police chase and kill throw the kill switch, if you will, and disable their vehicle with like OnStar or one of those things, if they can disable a vehicle for the right reason of allowing police officers to catch them safely, they can then throw the switch because they think you might be drunk. I saw you veer over there. We saw you. We're monitoring you on all of the cameras. We're almost all in a fishbowl now, but we have, street cameras, and we saw you veering, and we saw you do a rolling stop, and, you might be drunk. So we're going to stop your vehicle and allow police to come up and check it out. Those are the dangerous things. And I'm not saying it would be exactly like that. These are examples. They're just kind of examples of things that can happen if we're, if we're not careful and if we're not protective of our rights. Okay. I'm checking on the guest. We're supposed to have Chris Long on. We were supposed to have Patrick Wood on earlier too, and we had a problem. Chris is usually not late. And Chris is usually not late, and he's messaging me right now and saying he's having a problem too. So maybe it wasn't on Patrick's end. But since I want to get my next guest on, and I don't want to go for two on their guests, I'm going to take another short time out here. I will remind you during that time out to please support some of the good people that we work with on this show. This episode is brought to you by Mark King and Keeping Medicare Simple. Medicare Advantage open enrollment is happening right now through March 31st. And if you're on Medicare, this matters to you. And if you're in Northeast Ohio, I want to personally recommend someone I know and trust, Mark King. I've known Mark for years, and I've referred Medicare recipients to him time and time again because he puts people first and keeps Medicare simple. If you're thinking about switching Advantage plans or even returning to original Medicare, call Mark's office today at 440-832-8936 to schedule an appointment. And for clear, easy-to-understand information, visit the user-friendly website keepingmedicaresimple.com. When it comes to Medicare, I trust Mark King, and you can too.
Right now we're focused on Minneapolis because that's where we have the highest concentration of people who have violated our immigration laws, and that's also, frankly, where we see the most assault of our law enforcement officers. Our plan is very simple. If you assault a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to do everything that we can to put you in prison. It's very simple. And most of these protesters, as much as I may disagree with their politics, most of them have been peaceful, but a lot of them have not been peaceful. And if you go and storm a church, if you go and assault a federal law enforcement officer, we're going to try very hard. We're going to use every resource of the federal government to put you in prison. Respect people's rights. Respect people's rights to worship. Respect people's rights to do their job without being assaulted. If you follow that basic principle, the Trump administration is going to do everything that we can to protect your rights. But if you go after somebody, if you assault somebody, if you make a 9-year-old girl cry because you walked into her church and harassed her, we're going to go after you with every single tool that we have.
Mahmoud Khalil, who is the Syrian national who was detained and was scheduled for deportation after organizing and allegedly being part of a Columbia University apartheid divest group that is overtly pro-terrorism, praises terrorists like Yahya Sinwar, who killed dozens of Americans on October 7th. He was then released by a judge. Yeah. You guys just got a ruling that says that that judge had no jurisdiction to allow him to be released. Are there plans now to rearrest him and continue with deportation proceedings?
There are. and it looks like he'll go to Algeria. That's what the thought is right now. It's a reminder for those who are in this country on a visa or on a green card. You're a guest in this country. Act like it. It is a privilege, not a right, to be in this country to live or to study. And if you are pushing propaganda that relishes the killings of Americans or promotes terrorists, doors that way.
Mahmoud Khalil, who is the Syrian national who was.
But you obviously believe ICE should be abolished, but there are many in your party who are not going that far. Is that a problem for you?
I think any step in the direction of reining in and cutting the funding of an agency that is attacking U.S. citizens, that are kidnapping 5-year-olds, that are using them as bait to open doors, and that are privately circulating that they can violate everyday Americans' constitutional rights by busting into their doors, they deserve to be defunded. I'll take any step in that direction.
Are you
All right. Just kind of giving you a little bit of a look at some of the stories we've talked about already this morning while I wait for Chris Long. So he's hopefully going to be in the green room sooner rather than later. But at this particular point in time, I guess it's anybody's guess. We're just not being, for whatever reason, our guests today are not able to connect their links to our show, to our live stream. So we're hopeful that he will be here sooner rather than later. So Pastor Long, if you're watching, which I'm sure you are, please let me know when you are here. Send me a text and let me know when you are here, because obviously we want to hear from you. One of the reasons Pastor Long is coming on is OCA, the Ohio Christian Alliance, issued a statement, an important statement, because they were, as they should be, infuriated when a Christian church was invaded by radical lunatics on Sunday, this past Sunday, during a church service in St. Paul, Minnesota. And we've covered this in a lot of depth. The new part of the story that we have not yet covered, of course, is this part, which is the arrests that have been made. 3 individuals have been arrested thus far. And Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, there's the story. Kristi Noem says there are more coming. But one that apparently is not coming is going to be that of Don Lemon. Don Lemon, the former CNN host and, now independent journalist, podcaster, whatever you want to call him. I can't throw shade at him. He's doing what I'm doing, which is, doing online media. But Don Lemon isn't doing something I'm doing, or I'm not doing something he is, I should say, which is breaking the law and disrupting a church service in clear violation of what we now know as the FACE Act, and disrupting people simply for praying that all of the madness on the outside, calm before they leave the church. Well, the madness on the outside came into the church instead. So here's the story. The federal judge, this is where, again, when we were talking about the Fourth Amendment, can we trust the judges to give us the warrants we need to go in and get the bad guys? No, we cannot, because of judges like this who protect some of the people who do the bad things. Federal judges refused to sign the complaint against former CNN host Don Lemon for his role in storming a Minnesota church service on Sunday with a mob of anti-ICE agitators. And by the way, I'm getting tired of the vernacular, by the way. I'm getting really, really tired of, agitators. They're anarchists. Can we just say it for, call it what it is? Anarchists. Anarchy is what you have when there are no rules, when there are no laws, and there are no authority figures to enforce laws. There is a law on the books saying you can't come here illegally, and if you do, you can be deported. There is a law on the books from 1996 that expanded that authority. I was reading this just the other day to you. Signed by Bill Clinton, giving expanded authority to ICE officers. Back then it was called INS, Immigration and Naturalization Services. But the INS, they had their powers expanded to be able to deport people more easily. That's what the law says. So law enforcement officers acting on orders given them by the executives, the legislature passed the law, the executive signed the law, the order was given by the executive to the law enforcement and the judiciary to go and get these people And now the judiciary isn't doing their part. The judiciary, these radical judges are basically saying, no, we don't want people to have to do that. So therefore, we're going to tell them they don't. We're going to issue rulings against them being the ICE agents and so forth, creating what? Anarchy. The people are out there obstructing the enforcement of law that has been passed by legislators, signed by the executive, and being carried out by law enforcement. That is the definition of anarchy, and I think the language matters. Is that not big enough for you to read, by the way, on the screen? I apologize. Let me see if I can zoom that up a little bit for you. We're still, yeah. Yeah, looks like we're not going to have Pastor Long on because the links are, yeah, they're arriving, but I don't know what's going on. I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't. It's exceedingly frustrating, though. Let me try one more. Let me try one more thing here. I'll ask you once again to be patient. Yeah, this is just a thing. I'm on Chris. Then I'll come back and finish the Don Lemon story, if that's where we are. Okay, so yeah, we're I made the last ditch effort here to let me bring this up again. I made the last ditch effort here to get Pastor Long back on, or to get him on, I should say. Kill the music for you here. And yeah, he's got the link 3 times, so hopefully it will connect and we'll be able to get him on. He's got something important to say here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be fighting so hard for this to make this happen. But Pastor Long has some important things to say here about what's going on with Christians being targeted. Christians are allowed to have their services disrupted and interrupted because of the political agenda of, some of these lunatics. And Ohio Christian Alliance is not having it. And he issued a statement yesterday, and I asked Chris Long if he wanted to come on. Don't use the original link, Chris. Use the one I just sent you again. I just sent it to you 2 more times. That's I don't this is a I don't know what to say. It's a thing. It's a bad day today. It's a very bad day today on the technological side. The guests can't seem to connect the link to the show, so we're gonna have to do this thing ourselves. We'll try again. We'll reschedule it, Chris. Pastor Long, thank you. Appreciate your efforts on this very, very much. But obviously, it's just not working. Okay. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to finish the story and go from there. This is part of what we wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about with Chris is the refusal of some of the judges to allow justice to take place. So the federal judge refused to sign the complaint against Don Lemon. Attorney General Pam Bondi was enraged at the magistrate judge's refusal to sign the charges, according to the Daily Wire. Federal authorities made 3 arrests of protesters who allegedly took part in the targeting of the church over a pastor who's accused of serving as an ICE chief in Minnesota. First of all, I don't know that that's true. Second of all, even if it was true, what is the point? If he's an ICE chief, go talk to him and question him at ICE offices, or go submit requests to have a meeting or what have you. Storming into his church, which is his job as a pastor, is simply unacceptable, and no other faith would be allowed to be treated like this. I know this is why Chris wanted to come on, because no other faith is treated in such ways. Christians only are targeted in these ways, and it's unacceptable. We talked about this at length yesterday. What if this happened in a mosque? If somebody went in there and started raging at an imam for one perceived slight or cause or another, and disrupted the prayer rugs and all the other whatever stuff they're doing in there, never would that be acceptable. Even if they did it in a synagogue, if they disrupted a service in a Jewish synagogue or temple, same thing, unacceptable, anti-Semitic. If they did that to any other faith, but do it to a Christian church, and the left is all just hunky-dory with it. And apparently so is this judge. This judge is not issuing warrants for everybody who participated. Lemon was seen on the video at the protest under the guise of covering it as an independent journalist. Again, that's exactly correct. He's trying to use his quote-unquote freedom of the press to cover his actions. U.S. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, however, said Monday that freedom of the press does not extend to being part of the group that storms the inside of a church, in reference to Lemon. Quote, freedom of the press extends to a lot of different areas, Blanche told Fox News' Will Cain. It does not extend to somebody just trespassing and being embedded with a group of rioters and being part of the group that storms inside of a church. The fact that Mr. Lemon thought that was a good idea, then raced away from it, saying it was freedom of the press, well, we'll see. Well, according to the decision made by at least one judge, we have seen, and that judge says Don Lemon doesn't get charged. This is crap. And I'll play that video there in a second. Assistant Attorney for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon hinted on Monday that charges could be brought against Lemon, saying, quote, Don Lemon himself has come out and said he knew exactly what was going to happen inside that facility. He went into the facility and then he began committing journalism as if that's some sort of shield from being an embedded part of a criminal conspiracy. It isn't. Dillon also said that the Justice Department was looking into possible violations of the FACE Act, which is the other thing I wanted to talk to Pastor Long about, which has long been weaponized against pro-life protesters, and the KKK Act. Tom Emmer, Republican representing Minnesota, told the Daily Wire that Lemon, whom he called that failed reporter, that loser, that Lemon loser, should face accountability for joining the mob. That is, of course, correct. They've been led to believe that this type of behavior is acceptable. I mean, we've got Tim Walz and Keith Ellison literally doing everything they can to obstruct the lawful actions of federal law enforcement. Despite facing pushback from the judge, the Trump administration is reportedly exploring other avenues to charge Lemon. And that is something that we can only cross our fingers on. Because again, you're going to be presenting whatever evidence you come up with and whatever avenue you decide to travel on this, you're going to be taking it to radical judges. You're going to be taking it to the lunatics who don't believe in accountability if you're a leftist. And if you are in any way, shape, or form, if you're opposing Donald Trump's agenda, you are a hero to these judges. And if you are supporting Trump in any way, including ICE, you are on the chopping block. During a press conference Tuesday, Trump called Lemon a loser and a lightweight for allegedly taking part in the protest. I saw him, the way he walked into that church was terrible. I have such respect for that pastor. He was calm. He was nice. He was just accosted. What they did in that church was horrible. That is all exactly correct. Now let's
into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute, which operation are we at? And as it turns out, because we were like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? Saw the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Takima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they...
You mean since George Floyd overdosed, died of a drug overdose, killed himself with fentanyl and methamphetamines in his system, and died in police custody? And then lunatics like you on CNN called it mostly peaceful, the protesting of that overdose? Yeah, I remember that very, very well. This guy's shtick is so freaking horrible and so transparent and so easy to see through. He's pretending to be not part of that mob. You know, here's my role. I'm going to step away about 15, 20 feet and say, yeah, I just arrived on scene to do a little bit of journalism, do a little bit of reconnaissance and see what's going on here. And there's a group over there doing some things. It looks almost MAGA coded, but we're going to bring you the story here of what happens. He is a part of that freaking group using First Amendment protections, freedom of the press, to take away the First Amendment. And I did an entire rant on this the other day, and I'm sorry if I'm getting pissed, but I am getting pissed. By taking away the First Amendment protections of those trying to practice their religion. One tenet of the First Amendment, there are 5, does not supersede any of the others. You cannot take away someone's right to practice their religion because you are trying to practice journalism, when the reality is you are part of that mob and this is your excuse. It's how you get a judge to avoid charging you. And gosh damn it, if it didn't work, it did.
They surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, I can't tell you where they're going. Dante Wright and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account.
What does that mean, Don Lemon? What does that mean? Your mob is going to surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. If I didn't know any better, I'd say that looks and sounds like a threat. What do you mean hold them to account? Who are you going to hold to account? How? What authority does your mob of assholes, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry, what authority does your mob have to hold anybody to account? What do you think have they been deputized? Are they part of law enforcement? Are they judges? What do you mean we're gonna catch people off guard and hold them to account? You yell at them? They're already doing that. Chant at them while you stand there looking like what you are with a microphone, with a little DL? What does that mean, hold them to account? And just for the sake of exposing the hypocrisy at its highest level, your side doesn't freaking believe in accountability. If you did, you get the hell out of the way of the ICE officers and agents and let them hold criminals to account, you stupid son of a bitch. If you believe in accountability and holding people to account, why are you getting in the way of law enforcement? Law enforcement's job is to hold people to account. Then prosecutors' job is to hold people to account. And if convicted, a judge's job is to hold people to account with sentences. Your mob doesn't get to hold people to account. If you believe in accountability, then damn it, tell your mob to disperse, get the hell away. Certainly don't go into that church to hold people to account. And let the ICE agents hold the criminal illegal aliens to account. That's what has to happen here.
Has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after that.
That's incredible to me. The complete lack of self-awareness. It's just so obtuse. The mindlessness of people like Don Lemon and the rest of these nut jobs. and the rest of these radicals out there. You want to hold somebody to account, hold the criminals to account. The people whose business card, their job description says, I hold people to account, are the ICE agents. Local law enforcement and state law enforcement should be cooperating with federal law enforcement because all of them, all of their cards say, I hold people to account. I go and arrest people that are breaking laws. That's my job. You getting in the way is not holding anybody to account. It is running cover for the criminal a-holes, the criminal aliens. Sorry if I'm a little bit edgy right now. It's been a rough one. Guests I haven't been able to connect for one reason or another. Not sure exactly why, but it just happened the way that it happened. So a little bit tired of this, quite frankly. A little bit tired of this. All right, we're going to wrap it here. I want to have a look at the chat window and see what I'm missing, because I know you guys are doing. And by the way, I'm looking at the count too. My friend just texted me yesterday and said, how come when I'm watching your video and I push the thumbs up, it didn't register another thumbs up? It didn't count. I don't know. I don't know what the platform operations are and schematics are. It should go up. But what I do know is that I see 169 people watching this right now, and only 76 of them have smashed that like button. Hit that thumbs up button right now, everybody watching. And thousands of people watching on tape delay later. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. All right. As you watch this, it's available 24/7. Hit that thumbs up button, and also go to the comments and leave us a comment. And also make sure, and that's a lot of requests here, but hit the thumbs up, hit the leave a comment, and hit the follow button to make sure that we increase our followers. Again, we're kind of stagnant right now. We're about 5 weeks into the show, I think. So we should be growing at a faster rate than we are, which means the algorithms have not kicked in yet, which means we haven't done our jobs as grassroots organizers. This is what I need you to do. You want to be a part of this, and you want to expand this and grow this and have an impact and share things with people that don't understand, which is what we do here. Then I need you to bring people on board with you. Bring them to the live chat every day. Bring them to the, just send them a link to this and say, watch this at your leisure, push play and walk away. Whatever you have to do to get more people engaged, to get more people following, that's how we grow. And then obviously we cannot do anything without your support. This is a Patriot supported show, with the exception of select few individuals that I'm going to be partnering with. The first of which, Mark King is already on board with us. I've got some other folks coming on board as well. But other than that, it is completely Patriot funded, self-funded and Patriot funded. So that's where we need your assistance as well. All right, let's see. Politically incorrect mechanic says they're terrorists. They terrorize these people in the church for political purposes. They are terrorists. Charlie, I could not agree more. Brian says anarchist is an okay term, but they attack the church to terrorize churchgoers. Hence, the term terrorist might be most apt in this case. And that's fine. I am fine with that, like Charlie just said too. But I'm talking about the ones that are usually just the outside, the ones on the outside impeding and obstructing law enforcement. They're the ones who are anarchists, because they are literally trying to stop law and order from taking place, stop authority figures from controlling situations, which means, a society without a government. A society without government, without controls, is anarchy. And these are anarchists who are trying to literally say, we run the show. It's like, it's purge-like. Let's see. It'll get better, Bob. Keep doing what you're doing. Fed up. Yeah, the modern tech is frustrating. Fed up, Granny. I agree. And what's weird is, in the 5 weeks we've been doing this, it's been pretty smooth as far as that goes. We send out a link, the guest clicks the link, and their webcam clicks on, their mic clicks on, and they enter the green room, and away we go. It's usually been pretty smooth. I don't know what today's problem was. So my apologies to and for Patrick and Chris, my guests, who just, whatever reason, did not pan out today. We'll try to fix that. And in fact, we will fix that and make it work. Big Jake says, my dad lived a good, clean life. He was never one to give in to such bizarre stuff. He recognized this condition years ago. Yeah, a lot of us did. But a lot of us are being taken aback by it right now. CMG says, we all need to pray harder to keep Satan out of our lives. God is the only one who can save us and our country, and the devil is working very, very hard to prevent it. Correct. All of that is correct. CAD says, gay black privilege. I'm going to assume that's a reference to Don Lemon not being charged. And you're probably right. Who he is and what he is, a member of 2 protected classes, from his sexual orientation to his that was unintended. I just left one out there. From his sexual orientation to his color. You're right. Judge probably didn't want to crack down on somebody like that. Sharon says, if Chris Long has something important to tell us, why not put him on the phone and talk to him that way? Because this isn't, because this is internet. This is internet radio. And internet radio isn't like regular radio. There's no phone connection to the computer to blast this out to you. There's only the connection on the actual platform. So that's why we didn't put him on the phone. We'll get him on, though. Don't worry. We'll get him on. And he's going to have a lot to say. In the meantime, follow Chris on his website on ohioca.org, OhioCA for OhioChristianAlliance.org, and you can read some of the statements that he made there too. Churches need to post signs that say, we reserve the right to deny anyone service, and then kick these guys out. It kind of runs counter to the belief of a church. Most churches, particularly Christian churches, say all are welcome. Not we get to deny people service, but I get your point. It would be kind of funny that way. Let's see. Donna says, he said that's what we are doing here. That just made him part of it, not just covering. Bingo. Yes, he did. That is exactly what Don Lemon said. He said that's what we are doing here. He's with that crowd. And then, like I said, in order to give himself that, what's the word? The plausible deniability, kind of a thing. Like, I don't know what they're going to do, but whatever it is, I'm just here to cover it. He gave himself that cover by saying, I'm just media. I'm an independent journalist. Whatever they do, they do. But she's right. Donna's right. Spot on. His own words, belie his intentions. And that is, he is a part of this thing. Very, very correct. Let's see. Jimbo, church should have officially pressed charges, even if it was just a police report. And you know what? Maybe they still can. Maybe they can. I hope that's something the pastor would consider as well. Okay. That's going to do it for today. My apologies again. I couldn't bring you Patrick Wood or Chris Long due to whatever tech difficulties we got saddled with today, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes we are, again, slaves to modern technology, and it is what it is. So apologies for that. We'll get it worked out for Monday. I promise. Very, very nice guests for next week. We're even going to drop some new material over the weekend. So make sure when you are following the channel here on Rumble, make sure that you also have your notifications on your phone clicked to on for Rumble. You got to go into your notifications and look for things that are allowed to give you notifications and things that you have silenced or turned off. Make sure Rumble is turned on so that every time we give you new content, you can find it right here on this channel. All right. Thanks, everybody, for your patience. Thanks for working through it in the chat as well. Thanks to everybody who visited. My sincere request is going to be, once again, same as I say every day at the end of the show, please bring a guest with you on Monday on the next episode. Please bring somebody with you, or send this, the link to today's show, now that it's been recorded, send it to, 10 like-minded conservatives in your social media or your email inbox or your text chat windows. Send this to other people. We've got to grassroots grow it in order for the organic growth to kick in after that. Organic growth is happening on YouTube already. Organic growth is happening on Instagram and on Facebook, where we put a lot of these shows and clips from these shows, and the follower counts are through the roof. It's fantastic. The follower counts here will go there, but right now they're stagnant. So we need you to help grow that, bring some people with you into the live streams every day. And with that, I want you to have a great weekend. Be well, be safe, and stay free. And we'll see you Monday. We may see you over the weekend, like I said. Don't forget, check for the new content and keep your notifications on. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.